Here we are, guys. Here we are. Welcome to the Midwest. Let's talk, guys, because we need to talk about something that is it's very important for especially those of you guys who are part of this community. I I dropped off. I got some weird issues with my light today. Looks like I don't know what my deal is here, but hey, it is what it is. So, guys, today we're going to be talking about the the misunderstood life of a cold trainer. I want to invite you guys, of course, if you haven't joined the Patreon club, it is an amazing Patreon club for breathwork, guided breathwork every month. 2 sessions are added every single month, along with we're doing now these. It's live breath work with me. So I get together, we all get together, we do live breath work, we have an awesome time. And we're even going to be starting after the first of the year. And actually, I think we're going to go ahead and start it this month. I was going to wait and change the tiers around and stuff like that, but I'm just going to do it this month. I was going to start. We're going to do Q&A. So we do Q&A and stuff on here, but I'm going to have a Q&A just for Patreon members, and that will be coming probably this month. Our group really hasn't gotten together. We get together every month. We get together every single month, and I do a guided breath session. And last month we did Wim Hof Method. We did some really deep Wim Hof Method. I think the month before that, we did Sudarshan Kriya. Basically, with the Patreon club, it is whatever it is I'm working on right now, whatever it is that I'm really getting into. And because I'm constantly researching math, constantly working on learning more and more about different techniques, different traditions. And so with the Patreon Breath Club, basically you get everything that I'm working on. And basically I do the whole thing that I'm a musician, but from my youth, and so what I do is I merge a lot of these traditions and I make them my own. And you get to have the guided breathwork sessions, and they're in the catalog for you to keep forever as long as you're in the breathwork, the Patreon Breath Club, and you get them a full year before everybody else gets theirs. And so what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be releasing some of these sessions on my YouTube channel. But if you'd like to get them without the little blurb at the beginning, without any advertisements or anything, and of course you get full access for a year before everybody else gets theirs, join the Breath Club. We'd love it. It's a really cool tribe. Hey, looks like I'm seeing some familiar names already. Eric, how's it going? Nice to have you here. Oh, he's got to go. Well, I'll catch you later, my friend. Rusty's here. How to make my beard not look homeless. That's a video maybe we should work on later. Let's see. Yes, it is Jesse Coomer time. How's it going, Ryan? It's good to see you. And Ben, you just finished some breath work. What a beautiful thing on a beautiful Friday, a wonderful Friday afternoon. This afternoon, I'm going to do some book signings. I've got a book signing in my sister's. My sister has her own company, and we are gonna get to the topic of today's podcast, which is the awkwardness, the misunderstoodness of cold trainers, and I want to give you some help on this because some of you guys have gotten into it long enough that it's no longer the new thrill of the week. And I want to kind of go over all that, but real quick, just to kind of give you. Just to say hello, and maybe as people file in, today I'm going to be going to we have like in our small town, it's like this Christmas stroll weekend. It kind of kicks off the Christmas season, and so we are. My sister does an earth-based products, so she does a lot of CBD products, a lot of herbal products. She does a lot of tinctures and things like that, and then they're all homemade, and it's actually pretty cool. I need to do some episodes on it. And then, so they're doing a pop-up thing. So they wanted me to come out and do a book signing. So I'm going to go do that today. Hey, okay. I'm not sure how to say Yinaz03, Ryan Bean, my friend, Ryan Bean. Well, I tell you what, I just literally sent him a message. I'm thinking about, if you know Ryan Bean, you know about getting in. I've been getting into a real mood of picking up new instruments and picking up new music styles. So if you're in the Patreon club, you're going to enjoy some new music styles. Actually, I've got a lot of times I'll commission some work, some music to be made, and people will. I just pay people. I say, hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking to do. Some breath work too. Can you make this happen? But I'm getting into maybe learning how to play some of these instruments. So hey, it's nice to have you here. Please enjoy your time while you're here. And it wouldn't be complete without Papa Geek. How's it going? He says, been rewiring my whole house with network cables for the last 4 hours. Oh, wow. That sounds like a great day. You need a beer, my friend. This will be a nice break. Scott, brother. Yes, Scott. So anyway, guys, so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about, let's see, I covered the Patreon club. Oh, real quick, and I'll just do a reminder at the end of this as well. Just if you are on this live, or if you catch this later, the coupon might be still active, but we are doing I'm announcing the next breath mastery course. So we have the live breath mastery school, and some of you guys that are present here today are in the current cohort of the breath mastery school. And every single time we do the breath mastery school, I add to it. I teach it a little different. I try to make it better every single time. And so for those of you guys who are already in it, hey, let them know how awesome it is. Also, don't use this coupon code because you'll get your own coupon code later. But for those of you who would like to get into the next cohort, we do cohorts because it's live and it's all about finding your own personal breathwork techniques, your own personal breathwork practice. It's not about learning this guy's method or that guy's technique or this guy or the Jesse Coomer technique or method or whatever. It's about you learning about your physiology. We learn how to test it. We learn how to make really understand what is actually happening whenever I'm doing breath work, what's really happening deep inside, and then all the science, all this stuff in a way that's digestible. And we have homework, and it's really, when we say breath mastery school, that's what it is. And by the time you get done with the 6 weeks, you've learned a little bit of everything, and you can start putting things together for yourself. So our next cohort, it starts on February 3rd. And you know what? We actually have a coupon code for $200 off. So that's a pretty huge discount. That's actually the discount that I give to my Patreon members normally. And so that's why this is only just today, because I treat my Patreon members incredibly well. Maybe I'll have to give you guys more of a discount in the Patreon, since I always want to treat you guys the best. The coupon code, if you sign up today, again, the cohort doesn't start until February 3rd. But we definitely would prefer having, always like to fill the class as early as possible. The coupon code is EARLY, EARLY, all caps. So as soon as you would like to get into this, again, if you're going to do it today, you're going to save $200. If you ask anybody that's in it, it's well worth the money. Its normal price is $700, and you get $200 off if you use the coupon code EARLY. Use it right now and get into that. Let's see, the link. I need to have the link. And let's see here. I'm going to check with my guy, and let's see here. I guess we do need to. Okay, I tell you what, the link will be in the description box below after this goes out, and I'll just keep this up for 24 hours. And so if you sign up in the next 24 hours using the coupon code EARLY, it'll expire at the end of the day tomorrow, and we'll have that going. So make sure to sign up for that. When it comes down to learning how breathing works, the thing is, you got to remember, I've gone out and I've studied under all these different people. I've done a lot of research. I had to write my own book. I've taken a lot of courses just to see how these courses work and how they add up and what they teach. So I know what's out there, and I know that there's nothing out there quite like this, especially because it's live. And so it changes a little bit every time. I try to add to it a little bit every time. So even if you've taken it in the past, and if you'd like to get in on it for $200 off, the coupon code is EARLY. And geez, I need to get that. I need to get the maybe I'll check in with my Slack line and see if I can get the link for everybody. And then we're going to talk. We're going to talk about cold training because let me tell you, something happened yesterday that was like, okay, I know exactly what we need to talk about. I know exactly what we need to talk about on the next live. In fact, let's see here. I'm going to find it. Where is the link to the course? The live 6-week challenge. Where is the link? I know it's here somewhere. I found it. I found it. Sweet. I'm putting it in the side panel here for anybody who would like to sign up. And there we go. All right. So yeah, and one cool thing, Papa Geek says, if you live in Sweden, this course is allowed as a wellness course. That's awesome. So there are some places on Earth that will allow you to take this completely for free. So check it out, and the link is now in the side panel, and I'm going to have it also in the description box below. And I'll just keep this up for 24 hours. The coupon code will expire this time tomorrow, so just make sure to get in there if you'd like to get the 10 or the $200 off. Okay, and then I got a bunch of comments and stuff over here, but and I'm going to get to you guys. Stick around. If you have questions, comments, fears, or anxieties, please feel free to bring this up, because I'm going to talk about something that I don't think enough people talk about, because I think the world is full of people who are picking up Wim Hof Method, people who are picking up, maybe they're not picking up Wim Hof Method specifically, even a lot of people are picking up cold training outside of the Wim Hof Method world. Some people believe that the only way you can do cold training is practicing Wim Hof Method. That's not true. Wim Hof Method has cold training as an element, in the three main pillars of Wim Hof Method. Cold training is one of them. But lots of people out there do cold training. And so one of the things that we see a lot of is that everyone's excited about it. Everyone's posting about it. You see it on your Instagrams and things like that. But there is another side to it that I want to talk about today. But guys, if during my conversation, if you want to ask a question, if you interrupt me, our super chats are available, and I'll just, you can just interrupt me and I'll answer your question. But if not, feel free to ask questions, make comments and stuff like that. I will come back to it here in just a minute. So stick around. We're going to have a good time. It is Friday, and I'm really happy to, I'm always so happy whenever this live feed goes on. So anyway, so I dropped my son on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. Here in the Midwest, it's gotten to freezing temperatures. So when we wake up, it's about, it's one of my favorite temperatures, because for those of you who are the Celsius people, which is everyone else on the whole planet, okay? I don't know why. The United States, I'm sure there's another country out there that uses Fahrenheit. I don't know what it is, but for some reason we're like, hey, what we ought to do? Let's just use Fahrenheit. And then, you know what? Everybody else is using the metric system. Nah, let's use the imperial system. Let's just stick with that, because that seems logical. And I can't, in my brain, I just think in those terms. But anyway, we're getting close to right around freezing. So in the mornings, whenever I drop off my son to school, it's frost all over the world. I mean, it's a beautiful frosty land. And so in the mornings, see, and here's the thing that my son is a 6-year-old boy. What do 6-year-old boys commonly have problems with? Focus, right? Children right now have a terrible, everyone has a focus problem. I mean, generally, focus is one of those difficult things to cultivate. The ability to keep your mind on something and stay on it and not be distracted, or if nothing else, to be able to think clearly, is a difficult thing in the world we live in today. And so, kids commonly get prescribed a lot of medications. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that there's no place for medicines. I think sometimes we get a little bit too one way or the other on this and say, oh no, there's never a place for medicine. I think there's a place for medicine, but I think oftentimes we overprescribe, especially to young boys, things for ADHD and things. We're just like, I just want you to sit down and shut up. I think oftentimes that's what we do, and it's sad. And I think a lot of people are hurt by this, and it happens, right? And so when it comes down to it, um, what I and listen to this. So if you research even ADHD or attention, basically attention deficit disorder, you're going to find that a great deal of it is attributed to a reduction or not enough norepinephrine. So, what is norepinephrine? Norepinephrine is a neurochemical within our brain, and it allows us to focus. It's associated with attention. It's associated with memory. There's a lot of research that shows that that practices that increase our norepinephrine in our brain show an overall reduction in your risk for Alzheimer's and other age-related degenerative diseases with our brains. So it's really an important neurochemical. But here's the issue. How do we get it? How do we get norepinephrine? Well, there's a few different ways you can get norepinephrine. One is exercise. We understand exercise does a lot for our brain. And a lot of times we think it's just because it improves our circulation. Yes, that is true. It will improve your circulation. You're oxygenating the blood. You're moving the lymph around. You're stressing certain organs, and you're creating a healthier body. All of these things are better. Of course, exercise will also improve your circulation, your blood pressure. All these things will increase your blood flow, and that's excellent. Obviously, those things are important, but the number one reason why, I think it was Reebok did some research. I forget, it was like 10, 20 years ago. And they said they were trying to figure out what was most students' best performance as far as what class did they do the best in. And what they found out, it was whatever class was after recess, simply because the students, they went out, they exercised, they came back, they have a higher level of norepinephrine in their brains. Awesome. Great. And so this is awesome. This is an important thing. And it's one of the many reasons why exercise is very important. However, there is another way we can induce our brain. We can make our brain produce norepinephrine, and that is the cold. And it's much faster. The cold is much faster. And in the wintertime, it's far more abundant. And so what I do in the wintertime, I'm just going to tell you, and this is the part of the awkwardness or the misunderstoodness of being a cold trainer. We're going to get into all the other things. I'd love it if you guys, if anybody can relate to anything, or being misunderstood as a cold trainer, please put it in the comments. I want to give you some credit, and I want to, you know, I'm not a big speak your truth kind of guy, because I think sometimes it can just get gushy. But I want to acknowledge the fact that being a cold trainer in a world that doesn't understand us is an awkward place to be, and it's a misunderstood place to be. So we're going to air this out today. But my first, for instance, is I know these things. I've written an ebook about it. I'm going to be turning it into a full book with an Audible and all that stuff next year. I'm planning some adventure. Hopefully, I'd like to get some adventure added to the book. So there's even a narrative and all sorts of cool stuff. Everybody that's already bought my ebook on cold training, you'll get a free update. The ebook copy that you'll get a free update to that. So it'll be version 3. Anybody who buys my ebooks on my website, as soon as I come up with the next revised version, you already get a free copy. Even the people that bought my very first copies back in 2019, you get a free update anytime I update these ebooks. Anyway, the point is, so I know that my son, he's a little boy. He's a 6-year-old boy. And so oftentimes in schools, little boys are seen as, dysfunctional human beings because they've got a lot of energy. They want to run around. And, I know this kid, and he is very smart, but of course he will, if he's not interested, he's just not interested, and he's just going to fart around. And I don't know where he got that from. Must have been his mother. Couldn't it couldn't have been. Anyway, the point is, right. So if he's not interested, he's not going to pay attention. And so we had parent teacher conference, and, the teacher told me about that. And I'm not incredibly surprised. I had the same issue when I was a kid. And so, what we've been doing is in the mornings, his job, one of his chores is to take the dog out it's one of my old chores, which I've always enjoyed, is taking the dog out, especially when it gets cold. I just walk out in my underwear because and I'm sorry if my neighbors are watching, I apologize. I do this behind the house. I try not to, put it all on display. It was awkward when we used to live in a place where I did this in front of the house. So, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. But the thing is, that's been his job, because as we get older, I feel like, okay, I need to give him the responsibility of doing these things. And so he goes out, and I encourage him. What I do now is I'll go out in this freezing temperatures in just shorts, barefoot, and, no shirt on. And then I encourage him to go out at least with no coat on. Okay. And so he's got no coat. It's freezing temperature. So we're talking about 32 degrees, 35 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's 0 to maybe 2 degrees Celsius. And so all we do is we walk about, maybe a couple hundred feet, which I don't know what that is in meters. I apologize. But it's not very far. We walk a little bit away from the house to put the dog on his line, so the dog can do his business. We look at our breath. We're like, right? And of course, he's a little kid, so he's like, whoa, it's cold, but I feel fine, because he hasn't ruined himself, right? And the thing is, scientists, we have brown fat, okay? Just a little bit, just so you know. Okay, so humans have brown fat. Thank you. 30 meters, is that what it is? Thank you so much, my friend. Rusty, what would I do without oh man, Rusty, thank you. And then Papa Geek was translating Celsius in Fahrenheit. I mean, yeah. And I'm going to get to a lot of these questions here. Please stick around, guys. I need to get this out of my head before I forget. Anyway, so we stay out there. He's like, oh, it's cold out here. But it's not a matter of like, oh my God, Daddy, oh, don't make me go out into the cold. He's excited. And so we go out, we play a little. We don't stay out that long, but we stay out long enough. We look at our breath in the cold, and then we go inside. And it's not an extreme long cold exposure, but it is long enough so that his body has to react to the cold. And I know from my experience and from my research, okay, that helps him produce some norepinephrine so that he can be a little bit more focused. Now, the thing is, the other day I dropped him off at school, and these very, very nice, well-meaning ladies at the drop-off place, what we do is I said, okay, you can. He didn't want to wear his coat. So we put his coat in his backpack. We still send him with a coat, guys. Okay, so don't call the cops on me. But we still send him with a coat. But he didn't want to wear his coat to walk from the car, which I dropped him off, to the door entrance of the school. Okay, which is even, I would say, maybe 100 feet, very, very close, right? And so he wants to get that little bit of chill, and he's okay with it. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Of course, I'm proud being myself and the cold trainer that I am. Well, the ladies out there, they're like, oh my goodness, silly, you should have your coat on. And literally just think about what they're doing. And I understand they're trying to be nice. They're saying, oh, this poor child, in their hearts, they're trying to say, well, you know what, this poor child needs a coat because it's cold outside, and we all need coats on whenever it's cold outside. And I get that. And I don't blame them. And they're being nice, right? So there's no reason I could ever really be upset at them. But the problem is that, there's this conflict, and I'm like, okay. And I didn't really make an issue out of it. But I wanted to say, no, he is fine. He is doing what we do in this family, which is we expose ourselves to a little bit of cold. It's not a lot of cold. It's just 100 feet of walking with a short sleeve shirt on. Yes, it is, 32 to 35 Fahrenheit, which is, we're talking 0 to 2 Celsius. That's not that bad. It's not like it's blistering cold, and it's not like it's that far. It's enough that, guess what? He gets a little dose of norepinephrine as he walks into school. And my hope as a father, right, is that, okay, I want him to go in there as focused as possible. So we're taking supplements. I'll let you know what supplements I have him on. But all this, the thing is, I do everything I can do to help him stay focused. And one of the most important things, it's free and it's good for you. It's going to improve your immune system. All these things, right? They've had these kids masked for a year and a half now. And they're upset whenever I'm, and again, they're not mad at me. It's not like they're calling home and saying, hey, Mr. Coomer, we need to have a talk. It's not like they're doing that, but they don't understand, right? And so one of the frustrations that we as cold trainers have, especially after the new car smell wears off, because at first, when you first start cold training and people look at you weird, you're like, haha, yes, I am crazy. Crazy awesome. And it's kind of a thing where it's like you kind of like the attention, maybe, or it's this thing where it's like maybe you got bragging rights or whatever. It sets you apart from everybody else, or there's a certain degree of hey, yeah, I'm doing this crazy thing. But after a while, you start to get frustrated with society because it's so plain to see that you're not. And the thing is, if you're doing it and you have a brain, if you're doing cold training and you have a brain, lunch ladies, you're right. Bring on the norepinephrine. We need to educate ourselves, right? Like, for instance, this whole pandemic thing, I think we all understand that this was an epidemic of bad health, right? I mean, if you look at the world, it was not. And the biggest problem I had with this whole thing was no one was willing to say, "Hey, guys, maybe okay, we've got these these measures that we need to do or whatever, but hey, are you taking are you eating right? How much greens do you get in a day, and how many minutes of exercise, good quality exercise, do you get per day, right? Or no one ever did anything like that. No. And then whenever it comes to, I'm trying to help my son be more focused. The thing I have to worry about is people thinking I'm a bad father. Isn't that awful? And then as you guys go, and please, again, air your concerns. I want to see what you guys put up with. But as you go about things, like for instance, I never wear a coat. And it's not so that I can show off. It's because I want those little doses of norepinephrine. I know, based off of my research and my years of experience, that if I allow myself to have even just, yes, you drive to work or you take the bus or the subway, just in allowing yourself to be outside in less than warm temperatures for that amount of time, and then walk into a heated building, have some hot tea or coffee or whatever. It's not like we're saying we're going, caveman suddenly. What we're doing is we're just saying, I understand that my physiology, if I don't stress it a little bit, it will get weaker. And so therefore I take a little bit of time out of my day and allow it to get stressed. So let's see. Rusty's helping me out. I'm going to be, you're not a lawyer. If you're driving, always bring a coat. You don't have to wear it. Thank you. Okay. Well, I mean, and that's a good point. I think that's another thing. That's one of the biggest reasons why I wrote the ebook, A Practical Guide to Cold Training, which is on my website. Because at first, everybody gets drunk with this. Everybody goes crazy with it. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. They'll get into cold training and they're like, hey, so the cold isn't bad. The cold is good. Amazing. And I've even had doctors and like literally like high level physicians that would come to a Wim Hof Method workshop, or they would train with me in the cold. And then they would get it in their head that cold is good. And it was just that simple. And it's never that simple. Okay. It's always more complex. Cold is a deadly lethal force. I think we all understand that. So when you go into the cold, there's a reason why your body kind of freaks out. There's a reason why whenever the cold shower hits you, or whenever the ice bath splash, you get in the ice bath, you have a fight or flight panic response. It is your body literally trying to say, hey, if you stay in here long enough, you're going to die. And it's not wrong. But what we have to do is say, and this is one of my very first rule. If you guys own my my cold training manual, A Practical Guide to Cold Training, you know that I have the rules of cold training. The very first rule is that you're always going to train in a controlled environment, always. And that means whenever you're in a car and you're driving and it's cold, right? Yeah, maybe you don't wear the coat, but you've got a coat in the because you want, if you get stranded on the side of the road and it's, freezing temperatures and you've got to walk 12 miles to a gas station, you're going to need the coat, right? We always want to be in a controlled situation. We never want to put ourselves in a dangerous situation, because that's not what the goal is. The goal is to live longer, healthier, and happier. The goal is to improve our health and our likelihood of living a long life. And if you're not practicing safety when you do that, you're reducing your likelihood of living a long life. I mean, and that's why I wrote the ebook. But and I think this is why it's a misunderstood world of cold training. So a lot of cold trainers out there, they think, well, I just need to be cold all the time. And actually, I got an email that I forget who the email came from, but it was a friend of the show, and it was about, hey, I go to sleep and I've been leaving the window open. If it was you, let me know. If someone is here and it was you, let me know. Hey, Darren, how's it going? Nice to have you here. So, let's see here. So a person that is a friend of the show, he emailed me and he said that he is sleeping with the window open and it's getting colder and colder and colder. And he was wondering, is that good? Is it bad? Well, sleeping in the cold is not a bad thing, but there is such a thing as putting yourself in a situation that's not entirely good. Okay, I thought it was you, Ryan. I didn't want to say it for sure. So hey, let's talk about that, Ryan. So and I think what you were saying, Ryan, was that as it got colder, things were getting really good, but then there came a point whenever it was like, it's not feeling so good anymore. And ultimately, and this is actually, we've got this energy crisis going on in the planet right now. So it's given me a great excuse. I just tell my wife, who has always been against me letting the thermostat go way down at night, because I like sleeping. If I have my druthers, I like sleeping in a room that's about 60 degrees. That's my favorite, 60 to 65 Fahrenheit. And I apologize, I don't know off the top of my head what that would be in Celsius, but that's well below room temperature. Most people would find that quite chilly. Well, and so I've been able to say, thank you. Papa Geek says it's 15 Celsius. Thank you, my friend. So what would I do without you? So I've been able to convince my wife, I'm okay. Now we're going down. It used to be that we needed to keep it at a certain, we're going down some degrees, and as the months pass, I'm kind of sneaking it down a little bit more. This saves money, but it also allows me to get a deeper night's sleep, and I can track it. I have this Garmin smartwatch, and I would recommend, if you want to know what your best sleep temperature is, track it. Get a smartwatch and track how much deep sleep you're getting. You're going to see a correlation, and there is a causation to it, right? But you're going to notice that you get better sleep, you get deeper sleep whenever you sleep in a cooler room. There's a lot of research that shows this. Now, there is a point of diminishing returns, and there is a point where it can be detrimental to your health. Because if you go outside and you sleep, for instance, right, if it's in the 20s Fahrenheit, that's below 0 Celsius, if you sleep outside on the ground, you understand that, okay, that's pretty rough. Now, the thing is, in your room that you're sleeping in, you can have covers, you can have blankets, and oh man, it makes it feel real good. So I think everyone has to kind of test that out for themselves. They have to decide what is really the best for me, and kind of go from there. Let's see. And again, guys, if you asked the question earlier, I am going to go back and try to answer everybody's questions. But right now, I'm really focusing on Rye's thing. Okay. So he says he's just concerned if you could be in any danger. And the truth is, yes, you can. So this goes back to precautions. When you're unconscious, you can't really know if you're in control, right? So this is where I would always say, if you're going to sleep in a cold room, and everyone's a little bit different, because there are some people I know that, for instance, they go out hunting in the wintertime. Of course, I live in the Midwest, so there's a lot of hunters. And they'll sleep just in a sleeping bag out in the middle of like the wintertime. And they're just fine, but they've got winterized gear and they're totally fine. The issue is that when you're unconscious, though, you don't have control. I would recommend personally, if it were me, I would say, okay, if this is, maybe you have one room where you don't want to heat that room, just don't heat that room, but keep the windows closed, and just try to monitor, okay, how cold did it get that night, and try to stay safe. The issue is if you're in extreme cold, right? Because it's going to get colder. If you're in extreme cold, it is possible to get a little bit of frostbite, but it's very rare, especially if you're under a roof, especially if you're under covers and things like that. I mean, I'm just talking about on the face. Generally, to get frostbite, you're going to need to be moving around in the wind. Wind chill is one of the major factors for frostbite. But, if you're using a blanket, if you are, if you're in a somewhat controlled environment, just use your best judgment. But that's my best guess. I've had friends that are cold trainers that will sleep with the window open all year round, and they don't have any problems. So it really just depends on your comfort level. I don't really see a major danger, major danger. But I would use caution, just because when you're unconscious, um, who knows how cold it could get. Just look at the forecast and use your best judgment. Darren says he always sleeps with the fan blowing cold, and you sleep much better. Yeah, the cold actually does help us sleep better. And there's, like you said, Papa Geek, the chili pad. That's why it's so popular, is because especially in the summertime. I don't know. I track everything. I am such a, the one guy, he drinks his pee, but they call him the certified health nut. But I'm tracking. I'm taking my blood pressure every morning, every evening. I know, I do a lot of things to track my health, and it's just sometimes just out of curiosity, just to see where I am. So that I would always, just check to see, like if you have a sleep tracker, the differences in sleep depending on what temperatures you're in, and go from there. So okay. And then I'll get to some of you guys' questions here in a second. But coming back to the kind of like the issue that I wanted to talk about, ultimately, yeah, right. I think it's more of a Celsius chat. I think you're right. Let's see. But anyway, when it comes to cold training, here's the thing. First of all, when you first get into it, I think a lot of times people oversimplify, because we always do. Human beings, we love to oversimplify because we hate to think. And thinking is hard. So we just generally oversimplify things. And we say, well, I know that the cold isn't bad anymore. So maybe it's good. And the reality is the cold is a stressor on your homeostatic state, right? You have homeostasis. You're trying to maintain homeostasis, and it forces your body to work harder. And here's the thing. It can be a good thing as long as we're not overstressing ourselves. And that's really the whole point of any kind of hormetic training. So in hormesis, of course, being the process of where we stress ourselves to become stronger. Exercise is probably the most common form of hormesis that we're used to, because you stress yourself and you become stronger, more resilient, more vibrant. So when it comes to cold training, you are dealing with a stressor on your system. As long as we don't overstress our system, and as long as we allow ourselves plenty of time to recover, we're going to be healthy. And that is a good thing, right? We want to become healthier. But it's not like we can just say good equal, or, cold equals good, or cold equals bad. Cold can kill you, and that's pretty bad, right? Cold can also help you be stronger and healthier, and that's good. But the cold itself is not like a good or bad thing. It's just cold. The good or bad thing is your brain, is your training program. And again, that's why I wrote the ebook. But ultimately, I'm just saying, as we go forward with this winter, I'm hoping that we have more cold trainers than ever in history this winter. And if you're just starting your cold showers, you're in the northern hemisphere, you're noticing those cold showers are probably getting a little colder. Some of you guys have well water and it doesn't really change. I don't have well water. I have municipal water, and so it's really started to come down. I'm just loving it. And Papa Geek, I'm listening to like some of this, like I don't even know specifically what it's called just aggressive Viking music. So I start listening, boom, dun, 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 and I go into the shower. I'm like, and that's just how I start my day. That's just how I start my day. I'm like, well, it's time to get in the cold shower, and it's great. And sometimes it's the only cold exposure that I'm going to get in any kind of real sense. A lot of times I don't get to take an ice bath. And that's just because I'm so busy these days. I'm a college professor, and I'm also a full-time health and wellness coach or human performance coach. And so, I'm doing all these things all the time. So a lot of times it'll be, time to go to bed, and I'm just now finishing that last email or, writing that last whatever message or doing these edits to the video or something like that. And so sometimes I just don't get a chance to get my ice bath. So I really enjoy those cold showers. But anyway, if you're just starting out with cold showers, if you're just starting off with exposure, it's a you start to really get into it and you're loving it. The to remember is, how do you live in society, a society that doesn't understand? And so I've been doing it for a while, and what I have found is generally people want to make it look like they want to, in however the conversation is framed, it's hard for them to get out of their head that you're crazy, right? That it's this crazy thing, and they're not meaning it as like, hey, you're a bad person crazy. It's just like, come on. But you have to admit, it's like whenever I made the little comment about, what's his name, Troy Casey, he drinks his own pee, right? I think that's pretty crazy. And so if I had a conversation about it with him, I would, it would be hard for me not to get out of that mindset because I don't fully understand it. Maybe, and I'm just saying, I just wanted to say to this guy because, again, I'm not saying I understand it. All I see is a person drinking their pee, and I'm like, that seems to me a bit too far. I understand what I've researched it, and I know some people who do it. It's just, to me, that's not a thing, right? But when it comes to cold training, it's people can't get it out of their head that it's possible that it's a great thing. And most of the time, we call something crazy because we're afraid to do it, right? Most of the time, we call something crazy so that we can give ourselves an excuse not to do it. And we're saying, oh, wow, there's all this scientific data, there's all this evidence that it can help a person, and then you look at the person, man, you seem healthy and happy, and wow, you're really doing a great job with keeping healthy and young and vibrant, but you do this, well, that's crazy. And when we call something crazy, we are saying, yeah, we're allowing ourselves to get off the hook. And that's what the world's going to do to you. And so don't go out there. Here's my advice is just generally don't go out there feeling like you need to convince everybody of it. Just live your life and understand that the world is just not going to understand for a little while. But the thing is, my big thing is try, do me a favor and try not to make it look crazy, right? Try to, whenever you do it, a lot of people, they kind of lean into the craziness. And yeah, I know what that's like. I've done that too. But I want the world to understand that this is not crazy. I want the ladies that are there when I drop off my 6-year-old son to not think it's bad that my son wants to walk from the car to the door of the school, in freezing temperatures with just his t-shirt on. And if we continuously act like we're crazy, if we're like, right, it's okay to act like you're crazy and you're having a great time. I'm just saying we have to think about presenting it to the world in a way that the world will accept it, because the world needs it. Again, we know now that there are stressors that the human body needs in order to stay healthy. We figured this out early on with exercise. That's the one that everybody pretty much agrees on. Sadly enough, very few people do. Still, to this day, people get off on these ridiculous, arguments about it. And it's like, all you need to do is exercise. At least, do 30 minutes of vigorous exercise daily, at least, and then stay healthy. That's all we're doing. It's literally physiological hygiene. But people still don't do that one. But the thing is, at least they don't don't think you're a bad person whenever you do. Like if they see you exercising or going on a jog or something like that, at least not, thinking, oh wow, what a terrible father he is for letting his son do that. When it comes to cold training, that has not yet come into the public psyche. So we need to let people know this is not a crazy thing. This is not just us doing it because we're weird or we need some kind of a validation. It's legitimately a good thing to do. It legitimately, there's scientific backing for it. So I'm going to get to some of these comments. I don't want to get too far behind. If you want to step in front of everybody, we've got the super chats are available. But I'd love to know your experience with this. I guess lastly, before I get into the comments, as we go forward in this crazy world, I want you all to understand again. I mean, just look at this audience and look at this space, how it continues to grow. More and more people are taking responsibility for their own health and mental well-being. We don't see it reported on, corporate news. We don't see it in, the Twitter sphere all the time and all these things. But the reality is, just think about this. There's people that are actually getting into cold showers and breath work and all these things on purpose. And it's not, it's not for bragging rights. It's not for any of these things. It's literally because, hey, I know that I've got to take care of myself. If I don't do it, I can't just, ask all of these other people to do it for me. Jesse Flores, let's talk to you. What is a cold trainer? A cold trainer is a person who, well, I'm not going to do that. I was going to say a cold trainer is a person who trains in the cold, but it is true. A cold trainer is a person who gets into the cold. So cold showers, cold air, ice baths on a regular basis for the purpose of improving his or her health. And so whether you're practicing Wim Hof Method or whether you're just practicing cold training in general, if you get into the cold, there are an enormous amount of benefits if you do it regularly and you do it safely. So yeah, stick around, subscribe to this channel, and there's all kinds of info on my channel on how to do it. A lot of Q&A, a lot of videos. If you guys have a favorite video from my channel, throw it up here in the chat for Jesse. Thanks for being here, Jesse. Thanks for that question. Anybody named Jesse, I mean, I'm already a fan of you. I think it's a pretty cool name. At least it's been my favorite so far, this far in life. Let's see. He says, let's see. I came back to your Kava. Oh, my Kava video. Yeah. So I'm going to try to do more. I'm going to try to do some more videos that are supplement and nutritional based, just to kind of let you know. This time of year, I get really excited because it's the start of the cold training season. And it is a time whenever a lot of people are just starting to get into cold training. It's starting to pick up some popularity. So I would recommend trying it out. But I always love having a shell of Kava, and it's always a fun thing. Hey, Samuel John, thank you so much. If you have a question, Samuel John, you just let me know. I appreciate the super chats. Every little bit on the super chats goes right back into actually paying my poor assistant and editor, and basically he's basically like the COO of Jesse Coomer. so all of your money goes to paying him, and the more money he gets paid, the more that he can make this channel better. The poor guy, he gets paid peanuts. Maybe now I can give him some, I don't know, some cashews. But yeah, Jesse, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some more. I'm going to be doing some more videos that are reviews as well. Today, actually, I released a review of the Heat Healer blanket. I never really thought I would like that, but what happened was that I just started using it so much that I'm like, okay, I got to tell you guys about it. It's not like I really like the product. But it wasn't like something that I thought, like Kava. I didn't really know I was going to like that, but I took Kava a lot, especially in undergrad. So a lot in my first 4 years of college, I took Kava like crazy. Now I'll do Kava in the evenings. I'll take a little bit of Kava, and but I'm off and on Kava now. Sometimes I'll have like a Kava month where I'd really get into it. And then I haven't had kava now for maybe a month or so. I'll probably go into it a little bit more. This time of year, I'm into a lot of teas now that it's getting colder out. But awesome. I'm glad you're here, Jesse. Thanks so much. Oh, you started cold showers too? Oh, that's really cool. Nap in a cold shower. That'll do you good. So Julie or Carly, let's see where somebody said that they go by Jesse. Yeah. Jelly. Sometimes whenever I'm on the phone with people, they think I'm saying Joey or Jeffrey. So, so I can see someone calling you Jesse. Viking music. Absolutely, Anthony. When it comes to Viking music, I'm just all about it. Actually, I've got a very talented musician who is writing some music for me right now. And I'm going to be in my Patreon club. For those of you guys who are in the Patreon club, my October offerings, we're going to do some CO2 tolerance training, but we've also got one that we're going to go. It's, and again, when you're in the Patreon breath club, basically it's whatever I'm studying at the time and whatever I'm messing with and playing with. Right now is a really exciting time for me. I'm diving into some new things that I have not yet really shared a lot on this channel publicly. But if the funny thing is, if you're in the Patreon club, by the time I announce something, you're like, oh, I guess that's what we've been doing this whole time. Or it'll be like, oh, it's a variation that Jesse kind of was working with. And oh, I see I see where he got that idea from. Anyway, if you're in the Patreon club, you get these a year in advance. So check it out if you're in the Patreon club. Let's see here. But where I was going with that is that the Viking music, I'm trying to get some Viking music for the December offerings. I want to get that Yuletide, really, and probably I just got to say, in December, actually on my birthday. So I'm going to try to do, last year I had a beer with you guys on my birthday, and I'm going to try to do it again. That was a lot of fun. And hopefully Papa Geek can be here. I'm going to get maybe some Viking ale. I was training the military. So some of you guys know, I train military, I train police, first responders. You name it. Next week, I'm going to be training drug rehab. I have a lot of, and the funny thing is everybody needs this, right? So meat is really good too. But I was on a military base, and they had this awesome place where it was like, you could buy any kind of beer you wanted to. And I had just done 2 days of intensive training, and I was about to fly out the next day. And I had a bunch of spare time, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get some Viking ale. And it tastes like beer, but it was Viking ale. And it really hit the spot. I was like, man, I wish I had this back home. I don't actually have Viking ale here where I live. It was kind of specialty places. So, but yeah, meat is nice. Hey, Brandon, nice to have you here, my friend. Let's see. Hot chai tea with almond milk. John, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's some good stuff. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go back to some questions that I had earlier. And if you guys have questions, feel free. And of course, if you want to jump in the front of the line, you can just do the super chats. I always appreciate that. Again, Samuel, John, I really appreciate that. And my editor slash, I call him, he's basically like the chief operations officer. He's the guy, my right-hand man who does an enormous amount of work for me. He will appreciate that as well. So let's see here. I'm looking for question marks. I saw a few things here. Let's see here. On the topic of the video, I do want to comment. When I first started taking cold showers, I told my parents, they freaked out on me. Okay, so Ben Johnson. Okay, Ben, if you're still here, my friend. This is a problem. So Ben's parents told him to stop. Ben's parents, they found out he was taking those cold showers. He's like, why can't you smoke weed like all the other kids? What is this whole like taking a cold shower and doing something for your mental and physical well-being? Why aren't you out drinking with the boys? Now, nothing, I'm just, can't you smoke cigarettes like everyone else? This is the funny thing, because it's so alien. It feels, and the thing is, they care about you, right? I mean, your parents didn't do that because they hate you and they want to be a jerk. like, no, he enjoys it too much, so we have to take it away. No, they're doing this because they're trying to look out for you. They want the best for you. And that's where it can be really frustrating because they in their minds, you've been swept away by some internet cult. Like I'll never forget whenever I first started, when I went out to train with Wim Hof. Oh man, it was back in 2016, around this time. Um, a lot of people really wondered about me. They're like, "Are you joining? What is this? Don't go join some weird cult, man." Because I had already been practicing for a couple years at that point. They already thought I was pretty weird, and so I feel for you, Ben. And here's the thing: when it comes to cold showers, you don't really have to tell anybody, right? You can always take a cold shower, and it can be your little secret. So I am giving you full approval. I think it's a great idea. Let's see here. Where are we going here with some cold and some questions? Popping water freezes at 0 Celsius. Water boils at 100 Celsius. I know this, but okay. But the thing is, okay, Papa Geek, you gotta love me for what I am. Yeah, why make it? Yeah, exactly. Well, okay. Now I think I get where you're going with that, Papa Geek. Yeah, I don't understand Fahrenheit. I don't. The thing is, I think in Fahrenheit just because I live here, and I feel like it's just all what you're used to. I guess we are ridiculous people. Rise, right? Let's see here. Where are some questions? I'll just go through here. Carly A. Oh, hey, Carly, how's it going? People think I'm crazy or my hormones are out of whack. Yeah, I guess women, of course, you guys get the people thinking your hormones are out of whack, maybe a little bit more than us guys. A lot of times they think guys are trying to be macho though, so maybe that's a hormonal out of whack thing. I know my own family, a lot of my own family, they think that I'm trying to somehow one up people, or I've had a lot of cousins that were just like they think that I'm macho or something like that, or trying to show off or something. I'm like, okay. And I try to explain, but it's after a while, it's just tiring. Yeah, happy brain chemicals is exactly right, Carly. I mean, that's exactly what we got. That's what we get. Let's see here. All right, scrolling down. Simple Jim. Hey, brother. I'm always guaranteed to get my cold shower on Fridays thanks to these live vids. Hey, awesome, man. I have to admit, finding the motivation to get under the cold water is sometimes a challenge. And so thank you. Well, you're welcome. And I will say this. I will, even though I've been doing cold showers and I cannot see it being not a thing for me, but I've been doing it for years and years and years now. There are days, right? Actually, this is why it's important to make it just something that you do on a regular basis, and and you do have to listen to your body, and it's why we take care of ourselves. It's why, like, if you catch a cold or something, I don't want you doing cold training. Take care of your body because you don't want any other stressors other than the one that you're fighting with. But it's never going to be not a challenge. There will always be days. Like the other day, I have a ice chest that I filled with water, and it will freeze over if I leave it plugged in too long. And I used to have a timer on the plug-in, but the house that we live in now, it's the house we live in now is much smaller than the house we lived in whenever I first started this practice, and so it's hard to explain. But I don't have a timer, and so I've really got to watch it. Well, I've got these ice chunks, giant ice chunks in my ice chest right now, so it actually is difficult for me to slide in so much ice. And I'm just saying, see, I know, I mean, my brain knows this is water that's not only absolutely cold all the way through and through, but there's like inches of ice, which are centimeters or whatever in metric. They're on the top, they're floating. There are like, there's these giant islands of ice, and then I have to slide into it. And you know what? One thing I've learned over the years is like you can really cut yourself on ice. Ice can really hurt. and you don't even know. You get out bleeding, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess I cut myself on ice. So you got to be really careful. Um, so I know, the ice water, the cold, it can be really intimidating. And it doesn't necessarily go away. Now, that's where breath work does really come in handy. And that's where Wim Hof Method breath work is great for really getting jazzed up. And you get in there and you're like, all right, let's do this, right? Because it's a great way to feel good and get into the experience. And there's a lot of other techniques as well that can do that. Actually, if you guys have not checked out the most recent Pulmonauts Collective that we did a really short one, but it's like amazing breath work. And we get right into it. We don't really talk that much. We just go straight into the breath work. So check out on the channel the most recent Pulmonauts Collective. After that, I was so jazzed. I literally had to take an ice bath. It was already really pretty late that night, as I recall, and I was pretty tired. But after that, I was like, let's get in there. So I had to jump in the ice bath, and I was like, I'm so glad this ice bath is here. So, there's ways we can pump ourselves up, ways we can do that. Of course, if you come to a workshop sometime, I don't know where you live, Simple Jim, but if you go to a workshop sometime, I also teach how to do the brown fat activation technique, which is, it involves breathing and flexing certain muscles. And if you take a look on my Instagram, I have a picture from the summer I was teaching it, and everything from my neck up is just like beet red. You can really induce some really high temperatures. Let's see what we got here. I see Jessica Furberg's name mentioned. That is a very special name to me. I'm going to tell you why. Just a second. Real quick though, Papa Geek, you made a comment. Your favorite video, I think, was the live session from August in Patreon. By far the best. Let's see. I'm trying to think what the August one was. That might have been shamanic breathing. Was that where we did the shamanic with the? Let me know. It was either that or was it Sudarshan Kriya? I think Sudarshan Kriya was September, but I forget. If you're in the Breath Club, you can go back and you can look. Even if you just joined today, you can go back and you can look at all of the breath sessions we've done, all of the live sessions. Everything gets recorded. You have access to it forever. I never, the live sessions are only for Patreon members. They never leave the Patreon club. So to get access, you do have to be in the Patreon club. But I will be releasing some of the catalog. But when you're in the Patreon club, you get all of my guided pre-recorded sessions. You get for a full year before I put it out on YouTube. And so you'll always know what my thoughts are, what I'm working on, what I'm experimenting with. So it's kind of a cool thing. And for a full year subscription, if you go with the lowest route, the cheapest one it's like $55. It's ridiculously cheap, honestly. But I started this during COVID, and I wanted to make sure that everyone was able to just chill. And I still want that. I still want everybody to just chill. Plus it's fun. It's a really cool growing community. So, okay, I'm going to talk about Jessica Furberg here in just a second. I think, where is that? And I don't know how you know her, Papa Geek, but let me tell you the story. I've never met this woman, but she changed my life. And Jessica, if you're ever watching, please reach out to me. I would love to thank you in person for changing my life. Let me tell you how this happened. So it was like 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. I started practicing Wim Hof Method in 2014. And it was whenever I was getting into fitness, wellness, I was getting into mindset training, I was getting into meditation. It was really a blooming part of my life. And I found Wim Hof Method, and that was pretty much the catalyst. I said, I must go teach the world this stuff, because I'm a teacher by profession. I've been a teacher since I was a teacher. I even taught in grad school. So I've been teaching since 2009 or 10. Something like that, maybe 8, 9, somewhere around there. I've been teaching. I'm a teacher. So whenever I learn something, I break it down. I absolutely just kind of devour it. And if it's something I love, oh my God, I just have to teach it. So I said, I must teach Wim Hof method. And actually my sister at the time, she had a yoga studio, and she's like, Jesse, you should come in and do a clinic on Wim Hof method. I know you love it, and I think it would be an awesome thing. And I was like, yes, I would love to do that, but there's no such thing as a Wim Hof method instructor. And the only person that teaches Wim Hof method is this guy named Wim Hof, and he lives in the Netherlands. And, and so I had a problem. And so, but I was like, man, maybe there'd be a way. I wonder if there's ever a way that I could somehow get Wim's approval to teach it or something like that. And again, this was before there was any certification program. So I was on a message board, and I don't remember what message board it was, but it was talking about Wim Hof's Spain retreats that he does. He does a thing in the Spanish Pyrenees every year. And I was like, okay, I'm a college professor, so I can't really go to the Poland experience because that's during the school year. But I could go to the Spain experience. And I was like, if I go to that, and I even typed this in, if I went to the Spain experience, could I be a Wim Hof instructor? Could I teach it to people? Would that qualify me to teach it to people? And Jessica Furberg responded, and she said, hey, I've got good news for you. First of all, no, that wouldn't do it. But the good news is Wim is going to go to the United States. And you should see about signing up to be in the very first cohort ever of the Wim Hof Method instructor class, because he's going to start teaching people how to be instructors. And I was like, what? And I'll never forget her name and I was like, who is this person, first of all? So I looked, and she's a competitive ice swimmer. She's a Wim Hof Method instructor. As far as I know she was in that first class over there. So I assume she still maintained her certification. But again, I've never met her, but she changed my life. That right there changed my life. And I will always be thankful that that someone was actually willing, because she knew that she saw, hey, a person is out there that I may never meet, and I've still never met her. And maybe I can give him the news that he needs so that he can go train. And, I went out, and the thing is, being in the first group ever to do this, this was an incredibly special thing. Getting to train directly with Wim, in a way that was dedicated to teaching, really learning the fullness and the depth, and of course being challenged by the Iceman in ways that, it's like, hey, listen, I need you to be really proficient at these things. And I started training with him in May, I think, of 2016. And then he gave us all like a list of things. You need to really know these things. We're going to test you on these things. And we came back in November of 2016, and we got put through. I mean, he wanted to make sure we knew the theory, but also that we could actually do the things that he said that, we should be able to do. So, climbing a mountain in the snow, barefoot, bare chested, and, I'll never forget one of the craziest ones was being in this just freezing cold lake, and no one, and most of the time, whenever you go into like a cold exposure, how long it's going to be, but what we did is it was well below zero. We walked from the lodge. It was at least 30 minutes walk to this pond or lake or whatever. And then we had to get in, and then we had to get out and warm ourselves in this freezing cold, and then walk back. And it was hardcore. It was super hardcore. It was so awesome. Anyway, but Jessica Furberg, if I need to reach out to her. I know I've got her as like a Facebook friend or something like that. But yeah, she was a huge part in changing my my entire trajectory in life. And then from there, from being in the first Wim Hof Method instructors, I went on to study all these other techniques, and I'm still studying techniques. I wrote my own book. I'm certifying my own instructors under me as breath workers. But it all started It all started whenever I was like, this is the first thing I must go out and teach. And then, and that she changed, she that thing that got there. Let's see here. Okay. What else we got? Okay. Let's see. Jesse says, he says, everyone thinks warm equals wealth. Warm equals privilege. Warm equals comfort. Yeah, there's a certain degree of that, right? We and you have to understand there's a certain degree of we all want to just be comfortable. And the problem and there's nothing wrong with having a nice sit down on a couch that is comfortable, right? But the thing is, if we don't challenge ourselves with discomfort and we don't seek it out, discomfort will find us. It actually will come after us. And there's no way that you can ever sit on that couch and ache, right? You can't eat potato chips all day long, even though the first one tastes amazing. Eventually, you'll just have a stomach ache, and you're absolutely right. We think that it is that if you stay warm, that it's this wonderful thing, but you occasionally do have to step out of that comfort zone. I live in room temperature. Okay. I'm not cold training all day long, but when I get these opportunities to go out and train in the cold, I absolutely take them up. Carly says you do a 6-minute cold shower there. That's awesome. And that's the thing. It doesn't have to be this like, walking barefoot in the snow thing. 6-minute cold shower, that's a great thing. I mean, if the average person took even just a 2-minute cold shower every day, 6 minutes is really good. 2-minute cold shower every day. The average, if everybody did that, there's research that shows even 30 seconds at the end of a warm shower, it reduced sick days taken by all these participants. It was like there's a lot of people in the study. And it was enough. Just 30 seconds was enough to have a significant impact on their overall health as far as sick days taken in a year. So, yeah, let's see here. Let's see, Jesse. I use Ice Chest 2. Awesome. I don't know, Yinaz 03, Yinazo 3 maybe. I use Ice Chest 2 and got a piece off Amazon that said temperature controller is like $40. That I should do that. Actually, I'm thinking about upgrading to something like that, or there's other plans that I have for mine, but $40 that's a good price. I may do that. Jelly says, I was into Wim Hof Method last winter, felt on top of the world. Awesome. But I lost consistency and stopped and slipped back to them feeling bad. I was on antidepressants for a little while and started again 1 week ago. Well, I think you did ask earlier, and I didn't mean to skip over your question about how do I feel about antidepressants. Is that right, Jelly? And I assume that's how you pronounce your name. Is either Jelly because someone calls you Jesse? I don't know. Hang on just a second. I need to adjust something real quick. Okay. On the topic of antidepressants, I think again there is a place for modern medicine, and so I think that when it comes down to it, oftentimes I think it's how we use things, right? And I think this is just like like the cold or like nutrition or exercise. It's how you use it. Why are you doing what you're doing, right? So I feel like if you are giving yourself the best possible opportunity to feel good and be happy and healthy, and it's still not working, then maybe that's the time whenever you do need to look for some kind of an outside source, some kind of a modern medicine solution. But if a person isn't exercising, if you're eating garbage food, if you're not sleeping, if you're if you're smoking, you're drinking often. I have my beers now and then, right? But if you're abusing alcohol, in other words, or drugs, or if you're if you're not trying to put yourself in the best possible health, if you're not taking the steps to do it on your own, then and you just go for a medicine. I think one of the most common things that in sadly in the United States you see it all the time, is with diabetes, like type 2 diabetes, or with heart disease. These are killers. These are huge killers. I think that oftentimes a person wants to be put on, some kind of a prescription rather than to do the work and actually exercise, eat right, and take good care of yourself. And so I always think, for me, like for instance, I have close friends who are on antidepressants, and some of them are on antidepressants, and it's like, man, they're really working hard. You can tell they're putting in the work. They're doing what they need to do. However, whenever you're on an antidepressant, oftentimes it's hard to get into that. And it's easy for people who are not clinically depressed just to not understand. It's like, well, hey, you should just think happy thoughts, right? And you're like, well, and so sometimes we do need to look to a modern solution, a Western medicine solution, and oftentimes we can use that as a springboard to get out of modern medicine and go back to using natural things. I'm not a purist. I don't think that I don't. I think sometimes people make this into a moral thing where it's like immoral to use modern medicine, or it's immoral to not use modern medicine. Some people are on that into the camp as well. I'm more of a person who says, okay, I want to live a long, healthy life, and I want to be able to be my best. I want to show up for my family, and I want to do as much as I can, in this life while I'm here. And that means taking responsibility for myself. And as long as I'm taking full responsibility for my actions, for my life, for my health. Sometimes there might be a time whenever maybe I need antidepressant, or maybe I need a heart blood pressure medicine, or there are times whenever it's needed. I think sometimes some of the best examples, like for instance, my friend Chuck McGee, he is a shining example of, he would not be alive today if not for modern medicine. It literally keeps him going. So he is a type 1 diabetic. And there are people out there, sadly enough, who are in the health and wellness space that say, oh, well, you shouldn't use insulin and all this. It's like, dude, come on. So I don't beat yourself up. Just always remember, this is my big thing. I have to remember that even if I'm not perfect, even if I'm even if I'm always worth working on. And so Jelly, you pick yourself up, you look at yourself in the mirror and know that you're a very worthwhile person, and you're worth working on. You're worth getting up in the morning to go do your best at being your best. And we're all worth that. And that is an important place to come at it from. And we try to make the best decisions we can. We try to do our best. We don't always do our best. We don't always succeed. And there's times we get lazy. There's times whenever we, get in a slump. And guess what? That's part of it. And one of the big things that I always refer to is, if you're a coach of any kind. So I've taken all sorts of certifications, guys. This is one of those things, as a teacher for life. I think there's sometimes you're just kind of born into things. I don't think it's necessarily cosmic fate or something, but for some reason, I've just always had the mind of a teacher, or a coach or whatever. Part of the psychology of teaching and of coaching is, there's an enormous amount. If you're any coaches out here, you can attest to this, whether you've studied this specifically or you've just seen it, is that there's a certain degree of backsliding that is to be expected in progress. No one never messes up. There's always going to be times whenever you fall back, you backslide, and you get frustrated. You're like, duh, I let that happen again. I think a good example is, I was doing really good on my diet. And then last night, I got to, and this was very, very worth it. I got to visit some people. I think I've shared with you guys some of the story about, I don't know if I've shared with how my wife and I, we've done foster care, and we've had some heartbreak. I got to visit some very special little people last night. And so we took them out for pizza, And hey, I don't care. I'm going to throw down some pizza because I was seeing some people that I was very, 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 very happy to see. And I woke up, had heartburn, and I'm not going to beat myself up for that. We can't beat ourselves up. We always want to forgive ourselves and move forward, and don't ever think worse of yourself. So let's see here. Oh, Jella is how you pronounce your name. Okay. Oh, you're in the Netherlands. Okay, awesome. Well, yes, we all need pep talks now and then. Everybody needs a pep talk now and then. I need a pep talk now and then. We don't always get them when we need them, but I think it's so important. I think there's some pep talks that are just empty. I think some pep talks are like, you're perfect, you're the best, and it's like, oh, I don't know you, right? We've just now met, but I can tell you this: you're very worthwhile. Every person is very worthwhile, and it's so important to acknowledge that in ourselves. When we look at ourselves, it's like, you know what? I am very worthwhile. I'm worth every bit of effort that I put in myself. So, anytime you need a pep talk, you come right back here, and we'll come back here anyway. But we're all about pep talks here on this channel. Let's see here. Let's see. And I'm getting close to the time I've got to get out of here. I got to take the dog to get his shots. So yeah, my dog is here, and see, modern medicine. Okay, well, of course we can't board our dog unless he has his shots. But I'm just saying, I'm gonna go get my dog. He's got when we first found our dog, he had like heartworms and all sorts of just nasty stuff. I thought he was like 1,000 years old. It turns out he was only like a year old. It was just like he was on death's door, or he was close to Valhalla. Let's see here. Let's talk a little bit about let's see, DSTR. Let's see. Oh, Brandon says he stepped right into an ice bath after the Pulmonot session. Exactly. It was so perfect, wasn't it, Brandon? Like after that session, it was just awesome. P. Haggerty, nice to have you here, my friend. Welcome. Happy Friday, too. I know your name's Paul, but I always like giving people I know you, a lot of you guys' names now since you're in the breath club, but I like your names on here too. So DSTR says, hey, can you talk about the side effects of Wim Hof breathing? I'm specifically talking about in tinnitus. I've given up on breathing after reading that there's a chance of catching tinnitus. Okay, so let's talk about that, because that's one that I think there's a lot of chatter about tinnitus and Wim Hof method. Now and let's talk about just I guess Wim Hof method side effects of breathing, because ultimately, let's break it down. Let's break it down, okay? And now you're saying side effects. There's side effects for this whole time, and I didn't know about side effects. Chill, and yes, pun intended, because it's Wim Hof method. So when it comes to Wim Hof method breathing, it is generally most people in the modern world, whenever this huge movement of self-improvement, this movement of mindset training, this movement of breath work, of real human performance, we see a lot of Wim Hof method. That's most people's entryway into it. Sadly enough, most people get into Wim Hof method breathing and they do a terrible job of breathing. And this is one of the reasons why, like for instance, when it comes to deep breathing, superventilation, heavy breathing like that, sadly enough, if you're already a bad breather, if you're already doing a terrible job with your breathing, so your breath mechanics are off, and you get into any technique, but specifically deep breathing techniques, you can actually exacerbate bad breathing. And so this is why it's important. Like for instance, in my book, I show you how to do it, and in my breath mastery class, this is one of the biggest things that, sadly enough, people get into heavy breathing. It feels good, and then they later on they will learn what they should have learned at the beginning, which is how to breathe properly, and how to know where are my weak spots. How do I even do an assessment on myself? Where can I improve, and how can I do this better? What I see most of the time, and again, I've trained thousands of people in Wim Hof Method Breathing. And at my workshops, just, I mean, we're talking about physically in front of me over the past 5 years. And what I see all the time is people coming to workshops. They've figured out Wim Hof Method online. They're pretty sure they know how to do it. Want to make sure they're doing it correctly. And so when I first started teaching Wim Hof Method, it was how to do the techniques, how to do the method. Now it's a lot of my workshops are trying to correct the breathing mistakes that people have gotten into because they're already practicing Wim Hof Method and they're not breathing appropriately. So the breath mechanics are all off. And as a result, what happens is so often is that they'll have exacerbated problems. They'll notice they can't ever feel good. They don't ever get the high feeling anymore. And sometimes I will say this. I have never had a client, or I've never had a person come to any of my workshops, and we're talking about thousands of people. I have never had anyone come to me and say, Jesse, I was at your workshop on whatever date at this place, and now I have tinnitus. I've never had that happen. And I've trained thousands of people Wim Hof Method. Now, this could be for a few reasons. One, it could be that the tinnitus thing is false. It's just not a thing. I don't necessarily know or not. I don't, it's not up to me to know. I'm not going to call people liars, but it could be that, it's just not true. I will put that to the side though. Let's suppose it is true. Two, it could be that the people don't do that because they came to my workshops and I taught them proper breathing. And so they understand how to do the breathing technique better and they have a better respect. A lot of people go out and they find Wim Hof Method breathing and they just want to feel high all the time. So they just go all the time. They're just constantly doing it. And they don't notice that whenever you do that, you're going to lose a lot of your pain receptors. They're going to shut down and you can hurt yourself with breathing. You can hurt yourself. And the thing is, I think there's a lot of people that just don't respect what breathing can do for you because we understand that it can do all these amazing things, but it can't have any, there's no way you can possibly hurt yourself. Well, I mean, you can really hurt your ears and tinnitus. I don't really think that it's giving people tinnitus necessarily, but I know for a fact that I have, over the course of the years and years that I practice, especially early on, I know what they're talking about, that you can cause imbalances in the pressure within your sinuses. So it wouldn't surprise me to know that I'm sure some people have just gone so hard and heavy that they've given themselves some ear damage or ear troubles or sinus issues or things like that. You can do that if you're not really watching it. And especially if you're just habitually going heavy breathing all the time and you've got bad breath mechanics and you don't really fully have an appreciation for the power of breath work. Yeah, I can see how a person might give themselves some issues. But like I said, I've been doing this for let's see, I guess this will be, I've been doing this. I've been teaching for 5 years. I've had thousands and thousands of people do that I've taught. I have, let's see, I've trained people all around the world and I've never had a person who's come to one of my workshops tell me that. I don't think necessarily that I'm a bit skeptical that it actually causes tinnitus. What I think is actually happening, okay, is people give themselves some sinus issues. Ringing in the ears can be from more than just tinnitus or ear pain. That's not out of the question. But also, I think that if you already have tinnitus and you do deep breathing, sometimes it can especially because you're kind of in the peace and the calm, it can exacerbate the symptoms possibly. Actually, the guy that filmed the Wim Hof Method online courses, he asked me about this, and actually, this is the reason why I have a video on my YouTube channel from a couple years back, and he's like, "Well, maybe for your next video, you should talk about that." And because I don't have tinnitus, I can't tell you from my own experience, but from the people that I've talked to, who have tinnitus and then they do Wim Hof method breathing or any kind of breathing that provides that super ventilation. So heavy, deep breathing. They've told me that it seems to be like it's almost louder and it really takes them out of the moment. And it's really kind of hard to enjoy. So I think it might be that people maybe already have it and it makes it worse. I can get that. I just don't see any evidence that I don't see how, but I'm not saying I know everything. So I've never had a person out of the thousands of people that have come to my workshops. I've never had a person come to me saying, "Hey, Jesse, you taught me Wim Hof method back in 2017 at whatever event." And then, all those years, tinnitus, and it's been diagnosed. And look how, answer to this. I've never had that happen. So I don't know. I'm not calling these people liars. And I will also say that there is a lot of variation in the species. So sometimes there's just some one-offs, things that are kind of uncommon. So that's my take on it. I don't think it's a major issue. I do all of my Wim Hof method breathing now, all sinus, all nasal, in and out, nasal. Like, and I don't have any problems. I think the vast majority of problems that people have when it comes to all breathing techniques, if they have problems afterwards, it arises from poor breathing mechanics and a lack of respect for what breath is. And just a lot of times people just wanting to get high. So let's see here. So Rusty says, Jesse does have a video on, it's on this, by the way, practicing Wim Hof method, breathwork with tinnitus, and his beard looks glorious. And well, thank you, Rusty. Thank you. And Rusty, anytime Rusty gives me a compliment on my beard, I have to say it's a good day because he is really critical of my beard. Sometimes, if you were on the Pulmonauts Collective ever before, you might have noticed that there's one time he slammed my beard hard. Guys, I'm gonna have to get out of here. Let's see. Thank you for an elaborate explanation. Well, you're welcome. Sometimes I tend to ramble on, and especially when I'm having fun. I'm having fun. It's a Friday, but I got to go take my dog and get his shots. Got to go get him vaxxed, guys. Who knows what they'll eventually have a vaccine for, but in this case, it's just for heartworms. Anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all being here. Thanks so much for everybody. If you joined the Breath Club, the Patreon club, I would love to see you later on at our monthly get together. That's later on this month. Again, you can just go to Patreon/Midwestern Method, and you can take a look at all the Patreon stuff. It's on my website. Also my next cohort of the Breath Mastery School. If you really want to take your breath seriously and you want to learn all about it, how your breath works, that again, here, I'm just putting that here. I'll put it in the description box as well. Today and today only, we are, I guess, for the next 24 hours. If you're watching my back room guy, please make it so that's for the next 24 hours. Anyway, that will be, and basically it's early, EARLY, all caps. You can get $200 off entry, which is pretty insane. But we're looking for some early birds. And so that is it can be for you. It can be the gift of good health to someone you know who could really use some lessons as well. Guys, thanks so much. Please like, subscribe, share, and of course, as always, be kind to one another. I'll see you next week.